Smasho here with the Daily Space Weather to let you know that the end is near is the oldest grift of all time. Don't fall for it. It's a pile of nonsense. We'll be bringing you facts here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. That's the past 24 hours in composite. We've got some spectacular filamentary prominences in the northwestern limb. We've got a little reduction of solar activity here. Still quite a few sunspots on the earthly facing portion of the solar disk indeed. That's your SDO colorized magnetogram, and here is the SDO intensitygram. Most of those sunspots have been mostly stable over the past 24. This group up here that I thought would get named, I don't think it has. I thought it would be 3,111. It seems to have evaporated. Also, this group here has largely dissipated to an alpha class sunspot. Here's some more composite imagery. One of our viewer favorites, that's 211, 304 plus 171 angstroms. Let's take a look at which volcanoes are erupting. Suwanosejima is on the list, producing a 9,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Luatolo continues to explode. About a 3,000-foot ash plume from Luatolo. Semeru, I think that's an uptick at Semeru. It's producing a 14,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Flight level 140. Flight level 160 from Fuego. Flight level 230 from Sangay. And Revenador. Effusive explosive eruptions happening there. 15 to 16,000 foot plume of volcanic ash. And a lava flow continues on the northeastern flank. There's a heat image of the Revenador lava flow. It looks quite significant. And lastly, Sabancaya continues to erupt as well. Thanks for leaving a comment, Jackie2. Sabancaya producing a flight level 230 as it explodes. Don't pole vault the caldera. Let's see what's been going on seismically. It looks like only moderate activity. No major quakes over the past 24, it looks like. There was a 5.1 at the Philippines. About, 22 hours ago? 21 and a half hours ago. Also a 5.0 there near Iran. Looks like in Iran. It was not caused by hijabs. Here is a 5.1 at Honduras. That one coming in at 21:30 last night. 21:30 Universal Time. And let's get back to space. So here's the last 24 in ionized helium. One of the general favorites. And the radio flux has actually come down. If you're not familiar with the 10.7 centimeter radio flux, it comes from the upper chromosphere and lower corona. It is proportional to sunspot number, as you can see there. The black line is the radio flux, the red line is the sunspot number, and it's down to 135 solar flux units. No geomagnetic unrest or geomagnetic storms expected by NOAA. I would tend to agree. Things quite calm here. Here's the geospace for the past 4 hours. Our geospace magnetosphere movie. As some plasma around Earth's magnetic field moment is reaching static equilibrium. We'll also show Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. Here's what's going on with changes to Earth's B field. Be real about the B field. Earth's magnetic fields do not appear to be reversing. Anyway, once again, that's the last 4 hours. So geomagnetically calm conditions here. KP0 is the current state of affairs as far as the global geomagnetic measurement known as the planetary K index, KP0. And the real-time solar wind here, pretty uneventful in the past 24 hours. A minor uptick there in the solar wind density, now up to about 12.26 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed here very slow at 307 kilometers per second. Magnetic data starting out with the GOES magnetometers is next. There are the GOES 16 and GOES 17. If you're new to the channel, the N's and M's, they stand for noon and midnight local time for the satellites. Next, looking at the top view ecliptic plane field plot, and the north solar polar field trying to migrate there and not really doing it. So check it out. It's actually looking like it's leaving the pole and then kind of returning to the pole. As solar cycle 25 takes its time as far as the polar field reversal process, especially for the north polar field reversal, the south solar polar field reversal way ahead of the north. Here's our line of sight field plot. And let's move to coronal holes. So we've got some well-defined North Pole-oriented coronal holes rotating in here on the east. Let's take a look at those from the SDO. You can see them there in green on the Gong 2 imagery, the line-of-sight coronal hole plot. So these are South Pole-oriented coronal holes down here. These are North Pole-oriented coronal holes up here. And let's add 193 angstroms and zoom in a little closer. Great view of those coronal hole systems. Not a lot of those species of iron in those areas. That's 211 plus 193 angstroms. And let's move to sunspots. And good morning to you as well, Mama D1K. So here's the solar flare likelihood and sunspot groups. 3,111 never got a name. I guess it wasn't there for 12 hours. But that's the state of affairs. Likelihood of solar flares is significant. Here's the 1700 angstroms wavelength. It's good at showing defined sunspots. The SDO continuum and magnetogram information was a little bit outdated today, so we used this. And next we'll cover solar flares. I mean, there are various different likely spots to see solar flares. We haven't seen any relativistic particle upticks. And the largest flare of the past 24 just happened as I jumped out of bed. Peak flux of that was around 9:10 this morning, 9:10 Universal Time. A C4.7. I think we're just missing that on the data, but we do have a picturesque close-up of the southern hemisphere. We've got some great hurricane forecasts coming for you here in the meteorology segment, so stay tuned for that. Here's a star chart. Mars near the top of the ecliptic. Jupiter setting in the west. That's what's going on over eastern Pennsylvania. Lehigh Valley is where we're located. Here's a solar system forecast. I hope you enjoyed New Moon, all you reverse werewolves out there. Sleeping well at night and being a diurnal species and not cannibalizing humans. Being a happy, useful, productive member of society. And hopefully, not a useful idiot. Here's your 1 week forecast for the solar system. I think today people are frightened because Jupiter, Mercury, and the Sun are in alignment or something, which is scary because of a lack of understanding of physics, perhaps. Let's do the 1 week forecast. Here's where things will be in a week. We'll be at first quarter as far as the moon phases go. Now looking at some coronagraphs, this is yesterday's imagery. Interesting CME there off to the southeast, not earthly directed. Here is today's coronagraph imagery. A little bit of activity there in the northeast, also probably not earthly directed. Let's take a look at stereo A since we have some good data. And there's that CME on the far side of the sun. We've also got the Soho-Lascaux C3, located here at Lagrange 1, which, by the way, is also where the solar wind is measured by the Discover and ACE spacecraft. The Soho-Lascaux C3 located there at Lagrange 1, stereo A located here at Lagrange 5. Great imagery of Venus there on both coronagraphs. Again, no earthly directed CMEs currently showing up on the imagery. So here's the last 24 zoomed out. And again, most all of that ejecta headed off to the southeast. We've got some pretty limited imagery here from El Teide, Spain in terms of solar filaments, but there are enough frames there. Let's just pause on the last frame. Quite a few filaments here on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. We could see some CMEs. Quite a few filaments there, both in the north and the south. Here's the latest from the GO-16 SUVI, the last about 2.5 hours. And it looks like there indeed was a coronal mass ejection here. That's probably on the far side of the sun there. It's kind of off the eastern limb. And how about some more composite imagery? Let me just bring this to the latest. So that latest C-class flare-up might have come from behind the limb there. I do see it brightening over here. I'm not sure if it was from behind the limb or from this sunspot group down here. That's yesterday plus today's imagery. 3 species of ionized iron. And moving into bonus features segment, no charging hazards for satellites at the moment. It's smooth sailing for satellites. Here is the GOES electron flux. Now the GO-16 and GO-17, they measure the electron flux from a geosynchronous orbit at like over 10,000 miles of altitude. They measure that using radiography at the F layer of the ionosphere. So they're looking way down toward the F layer, which is at about 300 kilometers of altitude. There is the relativistic forecast for the NOAA forecast for relativistic electrons, that is. Green boxes are the forecast. There's the 1-year chart to put it in context. A little bit higher levels of electron flux here showing up. We'll take a look at the vibrational frequency of this one slice the atmosphere, the F layer of the ionosphere. So there you have the vibrational frequency, and we do have some shifting anomalies which we will highlight here in the next frame. As it is now spring in the southern hemisphere. So there's the anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. Some pretty decent swings happening there in the Atlantic Ocean. There's the latest image. That's 10 o'clock Universal Time and 10:15 Universal Time. Next, we'll show the total electron content forecast. It's the free electrons up to about 12,500 miles of altitude. The coupled thermosphere, plasmasphere, ionosphere, that's a plasmasphere there. Here's a Van Allen belt, there's another plasmasphere, and then the ionosphere. Free electrons can distort your GPS signal, refracting it and creating massive errors. Those are the most likely places to see errors. They typically happen around the equator at noontime. Nothing particularly out of the ordinary happening there as far as I can tell. Here's the latest intensity gram of the closest star, and thanks for stargazing with us. Again, the sun has actually gone down a little bit in activity since yesterday. Here's the last 24 hours in the house favorite wavelength, 171 angstroms. And now it's time to look at some meteorology facts and see if we can tweak some forecasts. So before we do that, if you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a member of the Smash Team at smashomash.com/Smash Team. We built our own website to replace Patreon with something superior. It's got superior capabilities. smashomash.com/Smash Team. Click posts to see the latest posts. Whatever your level might be, log in to see the posts that are available to you at that level. There's a gold level, there's a silver level, there's a bronze level. Support the channel with a couple bucks per month at one of those levels. The best value is the gold annual paid-up subscription. You get complimentary merch. Links at the homepage at smashomash.com. And welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Don't believe the hype, propaganda, nonsense, etc. on YouTube. We've got facts upon facts upon facts. And we endeavor to help you understand the physics. Next, if you want to help yourself to some massive discounts, click the SureMed link below the video or on our homepage and become a member of the American Better Health Organization. Yes. Discounts on all sorts of things, like on dental services, vision, retail and mail order pharmacy, vitamins, labs, MRIs, and CT scans. Also, don't forget to receive doctors by phone, counselors by phone, and virtual veterinarians, all as fringe benefits via a membership at SureMed, otherwise known as the American Better Health Organization. It's not insurance, but it does open you up to some group insurances only available as a member of SureMed. Today's featured product is Mensa. Make Earth not suck again. It's not a political slogan. It's called pragmatism. Yeah, pragmatism. I'm not interested in any political parties. I've never been a member of one. What I'm interested in is things that work. So make Earth not suck again. Pick up some merch and give Smash staff a raise. Yes. Yes, she's a partner in the operation. She's our IT department. She's built our websites. We are still on Patreon also, if you're not aware. Tell your friends and foes to make Earth not suck again. It's up to them. Not giant, ineffective bureaucracies that are unable to get out of their own way. We like effective bureaucracies, which is why we only have 2 people working for ours at smashomash.com. Smashomash.org will redirect you to the home page. Check out the merch. Lots of products available there of all kinds of different designs. And don't forget to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content on YouTube. Check out our playlists. You'll find all kinds of content that's not related to space weather. Some gaming videos there. Some do one thing videos, because a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Now let's take a look at sea surface temperatures, since we've got a hurricane brewing. It's about to be in the eastern Atlantic, barreling toward the Florida Panhandle. So lots of warm water there. Fortunately, there is some dry air there that might change the forecast a bit. But at the moment, expected a legit hurricane to show up at Hawaii. Again, you can see all that warm water there. Both in the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf. And let's switch to surface winds as that thing intensifies. We're going to show you the winds from around the world. There are the surface winds of the east. Here are the jet streams of the east. Shout out to our viewers from under the equator. Here are the jet streams of the Americas. Surface winds of the Americas. Surface winds of the central world, like Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Last but not least, the jet streams. Like sands through the hourglass of time, these are the jet streams of your lives. Here's your weather.gov map. And again, some hurricane warnings there in the Gulf. Storm track likely something like this. As you can see from the weather.gov's warnings, if your county is lit or the body of water you're planning on being in is lit, click your location. So some hurricane watches there. Florida expected to get some flooding as well. Some heavy rains coming in the southern portion of Florida. So it's going to be a pretty wet state by Friday. Here are some forecasts. So this is the total accumulated precipitation forecast based on a GFS model, and you can see that hurricane moving almost due north there at the moment. It's going to be dropping over 10 inches of rain there on the western portion of Cuba. That's a GFS 72-hour total accumulated precipitation forecast based on the GFS model. Accumulation totals there in inches. Here is your pressure and precipitation forecast. You can see the pressure dropping as that thing moves north, making it down to 947 millibars there. 947 hectopascals, actually. 72-hour GFS model there for pressure and precipitation. And here's the 72-hour GFS model for wind speed at 10 meters and pressure in millibars. So that's where we expect things to be in 72 hours. There is some dry air there in the Gulf. That might help to de-intensify things a little bit, but at the moment, you can expect it to get stronger. So it's in the process of intensifying as we speak. Some great imagery there from Witty.com's satellite stitched together imagery. Unfortunately, the lightning mapper is very outdated, so let's just move to a real-time lightning map, as there were some terrestrial strikes there west of San Antonio. And we do see some lightning there around Devil's River State Natural Area. Remember, folks, accountability always comes, and the end is near is the oldest grift in human history. Everybody thinks they're living in the end times because they think that they're very important. We do find you, the viewer, to be very important. However, it's not because of the apocalypse. So here is the U.S. Doppler radar map. Whoops! Sorry, the world's still not ending. And we'll focus on the lower 48, as we do toward the end of these videos. Again, we do have some dry massive air there in the Gulf. So that will not serve to intensify things, but we can expect to see this thing gain power over the coming 2 days for sure. There's a shortwave radiation map showing clouds and fog. It's 3.9 nanometer radiation from the NASA GOES interactive weather satellite. And here is the water vapor map. So that dry mass of air there, that may slow the flow to the north. See all this dry air? This is effectively high pressure. So that might help to de-intensify things a little bit. We'll have to see what happens as the collision happens between all this moisture and all that nitrogen. So anyway, that's what's going on. Here's your recap. Thanks for tuning in. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. And remember, folks, that the end is near is the oldest grift in history, as old as language itself. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash and Mash, signing off from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, and may that solar wind be at your back.